Hey guys, Todd here again with HobbyLink Japan, and it is time for another review. And today I will not be taking a look at a Gunpla kit. However, this is another kit that is from the Bandai Hobby division. And this is the third kit released so far from Bandai in the Go-Saurer line of kits. So Go-Saurer is a older Japanese anime from the 1990s, I do believe. And the first two kits that were released were the Go-Saurer and the Magna Saurer, which we did not do a review of. And finally, this month, or last month actually, now it's August, last month we got the third release here, which is the Gran-Saurer. So we will be taking a look today at the Gran-Saurer. So the first one that was released, the Go-Saurer, that one we did review on this channel, but gosh, that was back in 2000 and 2 years ago, maybe 2018, and that was reviewed by Ardith. I don't know if many of you out there actually remember her at all. That was the last review that she ever did for our channel here, HobbyLink TV, and that was the last, yes. So shortly after she did the review for that one, she left the company, so go back and maybe if we can remember, we'll put a link to that video down below, because I think she actually was more well versed in this anime series. She actually had watched the whole thing, so I do believe in her review she kind of went more into depth about the basis for the series. So that's something that I am not too familiar with. My forte is actually just building these kits, and I kind of just like taking a look at all the interesting stuff that Bandai Hobby has to offer whenever they bring out new releases. And there are a couple of kind of cool trick features that this kit has going on for it. So one part that is kind of new, I can't recall the last time, or at least the last time Bandai has done something like this, but we'll take a look at that later on in this video. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to grab the manual here, because the box for this kit, if you saw the episode the other week where this kit was released, it came in a rather large box and it will not fit in this camera how I have it angled here. So we'll just take a look at the manual, and I'm going to explain why this kit is just sitting here in this jet form first and foremost. So here we have the manual here for the Gran-Saurer there, and you can see right off the bat, so it does have like its base kind of robot mobile suit type of form. So this is an HG kit, so this is going to be built exactly like the other Gundam HG kits would, but this one does have a kind of a slight difference in that it does have different kind of forms. So we're going to be doing quite a bit of transformation with this kit, which is going to take me a bit longer to do this video, I think, but thanks to the power of editing, it shall remain a rather short video, I do believe. So first and foremost, as you can see, I do have it set up right now in the jet form. So we can see here on the front of this manual here how the jet form looks. And you can see, of course, in the actual image here, if you were to go ahead and paint it, then, well, if you were going ahead and make it in actual colors from the anime, it would kind of look more like this. But there's not a huge difference from the actual kit as it's presented here with the stickers applied. There are just slight differences. The tips of the guns are painted red, which they did not provide stickers for that. But this kit, other than that, it does have a number of parts. A lot of the parts are molded in colors, but we got like the white here for the nose, the gold for the top part, and the yellow for the wings, and then of course these detailed black parts for the rockets there. That's in there, down here and up above. There's going to be a number of stickers that you do have to apply to this kit, so there are a few of them. So the reason I do have this kit in the jet form is because when you are building this kit, following along in the instructions here, the very first form that it has you build this kit is going to be in the Grand Jet form. So we're just going to go ahead and follow along with the instruction manual. So first we'll take a look at the Grand Jet, and then after you do put the Grand Jet all together, it has you transform it into the Gran Top, so the Dinosaur mode. So unlike the Go-Saurer, which is separated into a bunch of smaller individual robots here, I do have the manual here for the Go-Saurer as well. So you can see this one separated into a bunch of tiny little robots, and Ardith, I do believe, went into that in her review. This kit only does have the kind of two forms. So we've got the Grand Jet and we have the Grand Tops, and then last it changes into the main kind of robot type of mode, which actually looks quite cool. So starting off with the Grand Jet, we can take a look at it here, and there was really not a whole lot to talk about. Now I have this propped up on two stands. This kit did not come including any action bases or any kind of stands for it, unfortunately. I think the only one of the three kits released from the Saurer line that did include a stand was the Magna Saurer. So if you are on your own, actually I guess it's earlier this thing would not balance at all on his own with the one stand, so I had the second one propped up under the leg, but hey, it's balancing on its own right now. This is the only time it's probably going to be balancing on its own with that one stand. So yeah, it does have a hole on the bottom where you can plug it into a stand, and although it is sitting here now on this one stand, it was having a problem earlier with there's a joint here, because you can see this is going to be the waist when it's in the robot form. And then you have the legs here. You can actually see kind of where the feet are sticking out, and then you've got the arms that are plugged into the bottom of the feet. So it's got a lot of weight on the back side of this jet form, and then the hole to be able to plug this into the stand is going to be at the front of that waist there. So a lot of the weight is kind of hanging over, not really supported too well. So yeah, and these leg joints, when I was trying to get this to balance on just that one stand earlier, it was just kind of flopping over, so it wasn't working for me, but apparently it is now. But anyway, so yeah. All right, so getting back into looking at this kit, so we do have it in the Grand Jet form here now, and it's got these cool kind of like guns on the top of it. That kind of looks quite cool, and of course you've got when it's in the robot form, you've got the rockets that are going to be exposed on the front of the chest and the side of the legs, I think it is, and the side of the arms. So that's kind of quite cool. They do show off in the jet form there, but it's got wings. It's a bit blocky. According to the manual, this jet is capable of traveling at a speed of Mach 8.2, which I don't think is really going to be that possible looking at the aerodynamics of this thing, but it's from an anime, so what have you. But I mean, it still kind of looks quite cool. It's a bit blocky, but then again, in the 1980s you had the F-117, and that was a bit of a blocky kind of stealth fighter too. So I mean, it's not technically impossible, but it's from an anime, so it's not going to be realistic to begin with. But yeah, at least in jet form, it does look quite cool. There's really not a whole lot to write home about. I'm going to pick it up just so we can kind of maybe take a look at this thing in different angles. So you can kind of see it there, and then you can see it from underneath. You can see that plug hole for the waist there where this thing plugs in. So yeah, I mean, it kind of looks cool. Maybe not exactly my cup of tea. I'm more looking forward to seeing this thing in the robot form. But all right, so before we take a look at this thing in its main form, we do have to transform it first to the Grand Tops. So I am going to go ahead and grab the parts for the Grand Tops and transform that now. All right, so here we have it now transformed into the Grand Tops mode. So it's finally into its one dinosaur mode, and I gotta say, this actually, to me at least, this looks a lot cooler than the Grand Jet did. No offense to the Grand Jet, but just this thing in its dinosaur mode. I mean, it's a dinosaur. It's a giant robotic dinosaur with cool golden horns and tiny little feet and tails, and a cockpit actually on its rear end, so you can't go wrong with it in this form. It looks quite cool, I do have to say. And I guess in a way, since it's got that cockpit on the back there, and this is a robotic form of a dinosaur, it kind of gives me a little bit of a Zoids feel to it, because yeah, Zoids is just full of those kind of dinosaurs with cockpits. Actually, it's got a cockpit on his head as well. So this head part for the dinosaur, this is something that you build separately in the manual, and I think I will have to steal some of these parts when I put it into the final Gran-Saurer mode, but at least for now that kind of looks quite cool. You can see where the feet are still here on the back. We've got the arms are kind of moved back to the back. The wings from that jet are now the tail, and you can see reflecting off of the mirror spinning turntable here. You've got the waist unit, or the waist part of the unit is on the underside there, so it kind of looks cool. So yeah, that's basically all there is really to this Grand Tops. Not really a whole lot to talk about. It is a bit of a floppy thing. Not really a whole lot kind of keeping this guy together, but actually, yeah, picking it up now here, he is holding together a bit better than he did earlier, actually. You can see here the legs, the leg joints underneath for the actual unit, and he's got his tiny little dinosaur arms up. There we go. So yeah, you can kind of see, he's got to be careful where you hold this guy, I guess. But other than that, this is quite spiffy. All right, so yeah, not really a whole lot to talk about this thing in the dinosaur mode, other than to just kind of look at the beauty of it. So from now, we have to transform it into its final Gran-Saurer mode. So let's go ahead and get cracking on that transformation. Alright, so here we have it finally transformed into the final Gran-Saurer mode, and he is looking quite cool, I do have to say. So this is the mode I was most looking forward to seeing. It actually transformed into this mode. This is definitely by far the best of the 3 modes that you can transform this kit into. It looks like it looks more like a traditional robot. You got the arms, you got the legs. He's got a pretty cool looking big Lancer weapon there with that kind of gold plastic part at the top of it there with the metallic green sticker on the side. Looks quite nice. And then the shield, I gotta say, the shield is one of the coolest shields that I've ever built, and that shield is basically just the head part there for the Grand Tops. And yeah, it just looks quite cool when it's sitting there in that shield mode, and he's just holding on to a giant dinosaur head to use as a shield. What more could you ask for in a plastic model kit? I don't know. I think that's probably one of the coolest things there is. So yeah, he looks quite cool, and he is actually quite a decently big, I will say. I'm going to go ahead and grab my HG Revive RX 78. I think this is one of the better kits to use to kind of compare sizes to, because I think a lot of people out there know about what size they can expect with an RX 78 and 1/144 scale. So as you can see, compared to the RX 78, I keep getting the name wrong here, the Gran-Saurer is just a head and shoulders above the RX 78, so he is quite a bit bigger. Definitely he's a bit thicker than the RX 78, and he is quite a bit wider, especially when you factor in those wings, than the RX 78. And I guess maybe his legs are starting to get a bit soft there. He seems like keeps kind of leaning back a little bit more and more as this turntable rotates around. So there you have it. So yeah, so he is now in the Gran-Saurer mode, and according to the manual here, so we got all these kind of cool little captions, and they do give us these captions in English as well as Japanese, which is always nice. So this is the 3rd robot entrusted to the students in the anime, and it is the most powerful of the 3, so I believe it is the largest of the 3 as well. So alright, so usually when I do reviews for the Gundam kits, I kind of go into try to take a tiny bit of a look at articulation for these guys. But I'm just going to let you know right off the bat that it's kind of just average as far as an HG kit goes. I mean, you've kind of got no real movement for the foot. It's kind of trapped inside of that large leg. And it is kind of a double jointed knee, but I think because they have to also use these parts for the transformation, that always usually kind of affects the posability of these kits, because they have to take that into account when designing these things. But I mean, you can rotate the legs around it's not too bad, but of course another kind of downside to this is that it's kind of a larger kit, and usually when you get these larger kits, that also kind of makes it more difficult to pose these guys. So I'm really not too keen on moving this guy around to show off his articulation, just because to begin with it's not that great. Actually, I just realized we've got this arm on backwards there, so yeah, you can see I don't want to take off his shield either, but I mean the arm can kind of go up and whatnot, but he looks cool standing, and that's really all that matters for this guy. I don't think you really want to go too crazy into kind of posing him. At least I really don't want to for this guy. I mean, he's got a tiny little head sitting on the top, and you really can't do much with his tiny little head. His waist only is going to be able to kind of twist around. Yeah, his head can kind of look up a bit, and he can go from side to side. But other than that, not really a whole lot to write home about. But that face does look quite cool there, doesn't it? You've got this nice kind of green plastic. There's kind of the sticker with a bit of design underneath it. But they actually do give you the option for that chest mark here. If you would like to use just a plain silver instead of the one that I did with the design, you can use just the plain silver mark as well. So that option is there for you to choose from. All right, so there pretty much we have it for the Gran-Saurer. We kind of looked at the 3 different modes that this kit can transform into, and then we have the final Gran-Saurer mode. But that's not all there is with this kit, and there's kind of one reason that I really kind of wanted to build this kit. If you already bought the previous 2 releases here, so if you bought if you have the Go-Saurer, and if you have the second release as well, which would be here, the Magna Saurer. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to transform it here into the final form. So, and this is called the King Go-Saurer. So we've got the King Go-Saurer. So he's going to be using, you can see now his that dinosaur head is going to become a chest part for him, and he's going to combine with parts from all 3 kits just to make this one kind of giant Go-Saurer version. And you also get the sword, so the sword only comes with the Gran-Saurer, so you will have to buy the Gran-Saurer in order to get the King Blade, and it is a honking long sword here. Let me grab it. You can see this thing. Woo! That is a big sword. It's not even going to fit on the camera there. So, all right, so it is time to do the final transformation for the Go-Saurers, and I'm going to make the King Saurer. So give me a minute here, and I'm going to do the transformation. All right, now here we have it, the final form of the Saurer. It is the King Saurer. So this is the final. Ooh, he's gonna fall over there. This is the final combination of the Gran-Saurer, the Magna Saurer, and the Go-Saurer. Now what's interesting about this thing is, of course you've got the regular instruction manual here for the Gran-Saurer, but to make the King Go-Saurer, it actually is its own separate instruction manual here for combining into the King Go-Saurer there. So that is quite interesting. So it took me a little bit of time to get this thing all combined together. It wasn't very difficult to do, but it just takes time because you have to take apart 3 different kits, and then you have to put them all back together in different and unique ways compared to how they were before. But once you have it in the final form, I gotta say, that looks quite awesome. This is the whole reason I wanted to build all 3 of these kits, is because I love when you're able to combine these things into just some kind of stupid gigantic form like this, because it just looks awesome. It always looks awesome when you get to combine these things into some kind of giant thing like this, even though it does maybe kind of look a little bit funky in some places. But yeah, it is quite cool. And of course it does come with that sword. What was the official name of the sword? The King Blade. So you do get this King Blade, and you can see the size of the blade, the sword itself, compared to the actual unit. It is quite a big sword. Now, you will notice I do not have it equipped because even on this instruction manual, you can see here how they have him holding this thing. Because of the way that you kind of have to combine these parts, it's not very... I don't think it's going to be very articulate, and just because it is a combination of a bunch of different parts, it does feel like it's going to fall apart on me in some ways. So I really do not want to try and bend this thing around, although it does still have like leg joints there, so you will be able to pose it around a bit. Just I'm not going to go into that for this video because it's gonna just be me manhandling this thing and having it fall apart into a million tiny pieces. But I mean, in any case, I think if you're going to go through the effort to put this thing together into this giant king form, for the most part, I think pretty much 100% of people, this is all they're going to do with this thing anyway. Maybe pose the arm up holding the sword like they have in the instruction, but other than that, you're not going to really want to build this thing to go into having some crazy kind of fancy pose there. I think his legs are starting to split apart because it is a bit top heavy, and as you can see there, those legs are a bit thin in the middle, so he might need a bit of support, I wonder, to stand in this position for a long time. But he is quite cool. All right, so let's bring back my RX-78, the HG RX-78 Revive here, and let's place him in front of this so we can see just how large he is. So there you have it. He is quite a big boy, quite a bit bigger than that HG RX-78 there. Gosh, I mean, even the sword itself is a lot larger than that HG kit. This is a rather good size unit. All right, so don't know what else to say about this thing. I just wanted to build this thing so I could see it in this final combination mode. So for me personally, because it's such a pain in the butt, kind of keeps transforming this thing back and forth, I think this is pretty much how I'm going to keep it on a permanent basis after this video. So I, for one, will never transform it back into any of those dinosaur forms, or probably will never transform it back into the Gran-Saurer, the Go-Saurer, or the Magna Saurer. I think I will just keep him as he is here. If I really wanted to, what I would more than likely do is I would buy all three of those kits again and then build them a second time so you can have all three of them in addition to the giant combined form, because I think that would be a quite cool display if you were to do that. But I don't know if I'll do it, but if I was to, that would be what I would do. So yeah, this is quite cool. I'm a bit in awe of just the size of this thing now that it is all combined together. And yeah, that is quite stunning. So if you, all 5 of you out there that have probably watched this series previously, if you are a fan of this Go-Saurer series, or if you're just like me and you're a fan of these kind of crazy kits that you can combine together into large forms, then this is going to be something that is right up your alley. But if not, hopefully you've been entertained enough while watching this video to check it out. So thanks again for watching. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button below if you want to stay tuned for more news and other kind of reviews and whatnot that we have going on here at HobbyLink Japan. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again soon.